Hey guys, I'm here with our first sponsor, a book I can't recommend enough, Healthy Made Easy, written by Mitchell Thompson. We've had him on the show. He's the owner of Self-Sustained Training. Great guy. He's given us a book jam-packed with so much information on diet, the effects on the body, what we should be eating. I can't recommend this book enough. Like I said, if you need a guide to starting a healthier diet, living healthier, this is the book has everything you need to start out. Easy read, jam-packed with information. It's available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble. Be sure to head over, follow Mitchell Thompson. He's on Instagram, all platforms, Facebook, everything. Check out his documentary. That as well is very eye-opening. Issues in our medical field, how beneficial a healthy diet is. I want to appreciate everybody for supporting the show. And go check it out. How was your day today, dude? What you been up to?
Just working.
Yeah?
A lot of working. Wasn't too bad today in terms of like being in the HVAC tech world, but nothing too crazy. So I made sure that I was able to get off early to come do this. And
Awesome.
And honestly, dude, it really means a lot. I'm truly honored to be here. And thank you for inviting me on here.
No, man, no problem, dude. I'm fucking glad that you actually came, man. I was worried. I was like, dude, I felt bad last week because I got sick, dude. I was sick as fuck, man.
It's all good. It's all good.
Bad. Like I lost 10 pounds. Oh, dude, it was so bad. I took 2 days off of work. And I felt bad. I was like, fuck, dude. I was like, we had just talked not too long ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, I'm going to have to reschedule. Anytime I have to reschedule, I feel bad because literally that was like pretty close to the date, I think, when I text you Tuesday or Monday.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you coming on,
Yeah.
waiting a week to come back on. So
yeah, like I said, I completely understood what was going on. So no big deal. I was willing to wait another week or so. Even to just waiting in general to just be on here.
Yeah.
And like I said, it means a lot. So I'm truly honored to be here, and just thank you for inviting me on this.
Dude. Yeah, no problem. Anytime, dude. So dude, I've been a big fan of your music. We met at Healing Gracie, and I had no idea you did music. And it's funny because I don't know if I found out before I met Mitch or after, but I was like, oh shit, dude. And I started looking at your stuff. I had to have been before because I used one of your songs on Mitch's story. Like when I put a story, kind of how I do every episode, I'll throw the guest up and have a song behind it. Yeah. And I can't remember which song I used.
It was Growth.
Was it Growth?
Yeah.
Because he's in that song.
Yeah. That's a big homage to him. That means how much he means to me. So he's a that's someone that I hold, in general, he's just an amazing human being, and who has helped me out in my own personal life a lot.
Dude, he is, man. He's such a good guy, dude. I like the way he speaks and the way he, like, you feel that energy from him. You know what I mean? Like he actually cares. Not like most of the fucking people you talk to and they're like half there and half not. And people will probably think like, oh, well, it's because it's his business. If you really knew him, this dude is about helping people, at least from my personal experience. I mean, like at all cost, he will help you as much as he can, as much time as he has, even sometimes for free. You know what I mean? Not saying he's going to be able to do that forever. No. You have to be able to, be financially stable, but I honestly wouldn't put it past him. You know what I mean? He's got a good heart, man. So like, it's pretty cool to like hear that song. And then the way he like, explains stuff, you know what I mean? Between the external and internal, and the way you need to make yourself feel in order to have that same feeling and appearance on the outside, but you have to have that in the inside. I mean, dude, it's just like, it's funny how people will roll their eyes and they'll be like, oh, whatever, another motivational video or another motivational speaker, blah, blah, blah. But dude, for the people who really like need that shit, like people like me, and I'm sure you feel the same way, it's a game changer, dude. And to know somebody like that, like usually I'm watching like Jocko videos and shit,
exactly,
you know what I mean? Like trying to get fucking pumped. And then now it's like, I know a fucking guy, like if I call him up or if I go see him, I feel a lot better when I leave. You know what I mean? It's
100%.
like, okay, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you know, you have that, you know, you can go and vent and talk, and, you know, he's really, you know, he's good about like telling you like, I'm not fucking perfect either. And, you know, we kind of bounce each other's troubles, you know, and like, you know, and try to find some type of gem to give one another, or to give whoever's needing it that day, to go home with, and really be able to like flourish and get whatever you needed to get done, or change whatever you needed to change. And it doesn't always stick, but it gets better and better. You know what I mean? Because you know, you start to fade off, and then you forget, and then you have to recollect yourself. You know, and but every time it gets better and better and better.
That's how it started. Like when I first met him, it was in September of 2021, to where I saw one of my buddies who was training with him at the time through Snapchat, and I was at a time where I was like, I don't know where I want to go. I just want to learn how to work out better, or get a good workout in. And so initially that's how it was. And so he gave me his information. I reached out to him, and I was like, oh, hey man, I want to get some work in with you. And you know, you know, and how Mitchell, you know, he's very adamant about who he puts his time and energy into. Like,
oh, for sure.
And so at first it was like, okay, he just seemed like doesn't want to, but then I was like, damn, I really want to get some work in. And then he was like, all right, let's do it. Like, let's meet me at this time and at this place. And I was like, okay, let's do it. And so I go over to his place at the time, his apartment, where he had his living room with a boxing gym in it. And it was, I didn't know what to expect. And I kind of had an idea of how he was like based on the videos that I saw.
Right.
And then kind of.
Oh, so you didn't know him prior?
Like, I knew of him because, you know, we all grew up in the same area. We both graduated the same year. We
knew
through
went to the same school. Okay, cool.
Yeah, we went to different schools, but like we just knew of like, I knew of him through other people. Right. And like, I don't know, he didn't know me at the time, but like, we didn't officially meet until and then we didn't officially meet until that September of 2021. And the first couple of sessions, I just remember like, what am I getting myself into? Just how intense it is. And because my whole life, I was just so used to just having some people like, yes, man, pretty much. Oh, you got this. Like, don't worry about it. You got this. Don't be. It's pretty much gonna be all right. You'll be all right.
Yeah.
And with him, it's just like, hey, let me tell you how it is. Like, just calling me out on as he's getting to know me more, and is kind of seeing how I carry myself, and our conversations through text, through just, it's hard to explain, but I just know that just the things that he sees from me in whatever capacity, he really tried to understand who I am, and then nip those in the bud, and like, hey, this is what you're doing, like, and really trying to implement, being intense. And like, a lot of times I'm just like standing there or sitting there just being like kind of cooped up, being like, he's really calling me out. And I'm like, I've never really experienced that. And like, just being so intense. And you were saying that he's so incredible with his words and his verbiage. And I'm like, this dude is like, I knew in the deep down.
Oh, sometimes like, this dude, I have to ask him, what the fuck are you talking about? Yeah, exactly. Last time I just seen him, I was like, what does that even mean? Like, he has to explain it to me. But, you know, that's what's cool, is that, you know, he'll break it down for you. But I get what you're saying, dude, because like, you know, most people, family, you know, friends, more than likely, they're just going to agree with you. You know what I mean? They're going to be like, no, you're good, man. Like, you're a good dude. Like, don't worry. That shit, like, you can't have that shit. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying you got to have friends that are always shitting on you all the time, which really, I got friends like that. And it's kind of fun, you know, because we're fucking dark, humorous type people. Yeah. So, like, you know, we call each other out on bullshit, you know what I mean? But I believe there's a good balance, you know? Yeah. So, you know, you had kind of the coddly side of, you know, your people there, and then you had him come in and was like shock factor, like, he wake the fuck up, dog.
He rocked my world. I'll say, oh my gosh, man. But like, for some reason, like, a lot of people, when they do encounter someone like that, you know, they're just gonna be like, man, screw this, I'm not doing this. But I knew in the back of my mind and deep down in my heart that I had to keep going with this, because at that point in my life, I was very, very, very immature and very childish in how I was carrying myself. I was living under the delusion that I could do what I want and, you know, not have any repercussions, and just how I left a perception and he was there to just reel me back in. And like, it took a long time to like break down all those subconscious conditioning habits, tendencies that I would do. And like, this is something that we been working on for over 3 years. Like even recently, like a couple months ago, it's been, and I mean, recently I just finally understanding everything that he's talking about through my own life experiences. And like, man, this dude, as much as my own insecurity that's masked as ego tries to block what he's taught me and what he's saying, it's like, this is the hard truth. Like, you're going to go, like, I'm someone that never dealt with hardships, that's dealt with, with what a lot of people really go through. I was coddled my whole life. I was given everything on a silver platter, pretty much, metaphorically speaking. And to have someone to just shut that all down and be like, hey, like, you gotta get your shit together. Like, he would tell me, you gotta get a job 40 hours a week. You gotta do this. You gotta do this. You gotta do this. And I'm like, oh man, like all this breaking down the conditioning habits that I have. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm like internally panicking, but I know initially once you get past that threshold and past that stage, you're like, oh, it's not that bad. So.
Dude, let me take a quick break. This is probably the fastest break I've ever taken. I'm having equipment issues. I told you I've been doing the mobile podcast shit. I got to fix that fucking camera real quick. So let's take a break. Quick break.
Cool.
We're back. I don't know what the fuck. If I look like a fluorescent light bulb on there, somebody reach out there. I need a videographer. So I need a production team.
You want to help out?
Yeah, I need a production team. God damn it. I might need some color grading on this episode. I cannot get the fucking white balancer right on that. So, all right. So we left off talking about kind of how you grew up. You kind of had a good life, you know, and almost to the point that you felt like it was almost a little too good, you know what I mean? Maybe it made you a little too comfortable with, the situation you were in, made you feel okay, like nothing was wrong. Dude, does it like stem back to childhood or like, where does it start? You know what I mean?
I would say it stemmed when I moved to Kansas City. So
where are you from?
I'm originally from Los Angeles.
Oh, okay.
And
makes sense. You got that on.
I couldn't help it. So, but I was born in Los Angeles, and growing up there, all my family was there. And so from the time I was born to the time I was 6 years old, I was always just always around family. We're always having a good time, having lots of parties, lots of memories, lots of bonding together. And then
how young were you? You were pretty young when you lived out there?
Yeah, like I said, from the time I was born to the time I was 6 years old. So
6 years old?
For 6 years old, yeah. And I remember finding out that my dad telling us that we're moving out here to Missouri, and I was like, what? No, I don't want to. And like, then we finally moved out here. It was in October of 2003. It was was it? Yeah, it was that time. And I remember the first couple of weeks, I was crying my eyes out. I was like, I want to go back. I want to be with my family again. I miss all of it. Just having all those fun memories, those amazing times that you had, and to just not having any of that. Of course,
get-togethers. You got cousins and uncles and aunts, and you kind of, when everyone's around, that camaraderie. You know what I mean? It's hard to explain, but it's a very good energy, very good feeling. I'm guessing you didn't have any family here.
Yeah, aside from my parents and my sister, that was
right.
It, yeah.
Just your immediate family.
Just my immediate family.
And they moved to job or just different life?
Yeah, my dad's job. I think his company shut down on that side of the country, and they wanted him to come out here just to have more stability. And he was like, "All right, let's do it." And for me, the way I coped with that move was that right when I moved there, I was just coping by eating lots of junk food, drinking a shit ton of Coke, playing a lot of video games, isolating myself, and kind of being antisocial. Like I would talk, but I really wouldn't talk much. I was just so depressed, so sad that that was taken away from me. And then eventually I got over it, but those habits of eating like shit, drinking, obviously being a kid, you have a little bit more leniency, but I didn't do anything. Like all I did was just that, and I didn't play any sports. I didn't do anything. I was just in my room a lot, just playing video games, doing all that. And
I'm guessing your parents probably ate the same, so it's kind of like you grew up seeing that,
A lot with my parents, I mean, with my mom, I would say yes, but my daddy was always working. He was always just, trying to provide for a better life, which, so salute to him, and especially now that he's retired, I've actually got to spend more time with him and bond with him more. And man, I was like, probably one of the best feelings, better late than never, right? But I mean,
no, but that's cool. I mean, does you guys kind of go like do stuff together and like kind of go out and like, spend some son and father time together?
We try to. I mean, a lot of times we just be like, recently we just been watching a lot of Dodger games together and really bonding over that. And one of the things that we always bonded over is boxing. He's the one that actually got me into boxing in the first place when I was like 15, 16 years old. And ever since that, I just became obsessed with the sport to the point where any time during the day I bring up some news about some boxing, about some fights that are happening that he doesn't even know. And I'm like, yeah, this is going on. Like, in a way, just that's how we keep our bond together through sports. And then just him also talking about his upbringing, where he came from, and learning different things that I didn't even know. Because, obviously when you see your dad as your dad, but before knowing that he was his own person before he was a dad, and getting to know that person before the dad, you know what I mean? So, and just getting to know him little by little,
kind of how he grew up and like kind of his life story, stuff like that.
I'm gonna grab a drink real quick. You keep going. No, it's all good. But yeah, just kind of understanding the hardships that, thank you, just understanding the hardships that he has to go through, and always keeping that in the back of my mind of how he is as a person. And
I mean, shit, he had to move a whole halfway across the country, dude. Take his family. That's pretty fucking crazy.
Even before that, he had to move from he's from Mexico, and then he moved to the United States when he was 22.
Really?
And not knowing a single word of English, moving to California, working 3 jobs nonstop, just working, trying to make something of himself. And I mean, like, going back to, just growing up, is just, he was always working. My mom was there, but she was just doing her own thing. And like I said, I just was just being lazy and just didn't do anything growing up. And there was no one there to tell me, hey, go do something. Like, there was moments where I did want to do something. Like I remember when I was like 10 years old, I wanted to get into baseball and acting. With baseball, I wanted to do it. Then I was like, no, I'm too fat. I'm not going to do it. So I didn't do it. The same reason with acting. Like, I got a letter in the mail about doing child auditions, and I was like, I want to do this. And then I look at myself in the mirror. And at the time, I want to preface, I forgot to mention this, that over time, from the time I was 6 to about 13, 14 years old, I gained so much weight. I was super overweight, super just out of shape.
I've seen some of the pictures in your videos, your music videos. I think you've put some in there.
Just super overweight, super shy and insecure. This is like, when like I said, when I was 10 years old and looking at myself in the mirror, being overweight as I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm too ugly. I'm too fat. I can't do this. So I'm not doing it. And I didn't start doing that until 10 years later. I do know that as comfortable as I was just so depressed and so sad, like just being cooped up in my room, but I didn't know anything else. I had no one to kind of teach me.
It's kind of your safe place.
100%. 100%. And like, that's all I knew. I was like, the idea of going somewhere that's foreign, that's brand new, was like, I'm not doing that. That's too scary. So I'm not doing it. And I did that for a lot of my childhood.
Really?
Like, even to the point where like, I would have friends in school. But like the idea of, having them over to my house and hanging out at my house or their house was terrifying, like extreme social anxiety, I would say.
And it was just because how you felt, how you looked. That's really what kind of messed with you. How
I looked. Yeah. I was always, it is something I still struggle with to this day, is caring so much about my vanity. And because it really stems from as a child, where every day I would look at myself in the mirror and I hate myself as so young too, where those habits, when you develop them at a young age, that's what and even into your 20s, you're like, you still struggle with that. It's fair to say that I struggle with body dysmorphia a lot, even still to this day, and overcoming that. And
because you feel like it's not enough, you still have to like perfect or
my little
like change,
my little insecurities that I had, even when I lost all that weight, and just, it's even crazy to me to think about that. I was putting myself down at such a young age and not knowing what I was really doing. And it's such a crazy thing that I've had to overcome, and that I've had to, work with Mitchell on as well. And he saw that how negative I can be towards myself, how neurotic I can be, how just how degrading I can be toward myself. How you say a mixture of body dysmorphia, imposter syndrome, feeling like I'm not good enough for anything. And
just had you already lost the weight before you met him?
Oh yeah, this was like I started losing weight in high school. So my peak was when I was like, what, 5'7", almost 200 pounds of just straight fat. I had no muscle tonnage, nothing on me.
What made you change? Just got tired of it?
I decided my freshman year, I wanted to take a weightlifting class.
Oh, nice.
And so I was like, I want to do some exercise. And so that first semester I took it, I lost about, I would say 10 pounds. And then I started taking that class consecutively over the next 4 years. And I would lose another 10 pounds one year and then another 10 pounds until I got from like 190, 180 to about 140 pounds. But then it was just straight up, just no muscle, loose skin.
Were you eating better too?
I wouldn't say eating better, just eating less.
Less, right.
Like,
yeah, more moderate, more not like overindulging. Yeah.
I was just overindulging a lot, and like a lot of carb heavy
food.
For
sure. Yeah.
Like a lot of hot Cheetos every day, a lot of burgers from McDonald's. Oh yeah. Yeah. And to the point where I would, that affected me to the extreme of like, whenever I did start working out, I just start trying to build muscle, trying to eat right. I would be so extreme to the point where I was so strict with myself that the idea of like enjoying a cheeseburger or some cake or something was terrifying to me.
Really?
Was so terrifying because I was afraid that I'm just going to become the fat kid I was
relapse.
Again.
Yeah.
100%. Like it was just like the most terrifying thing, or it's like, I'm good. And just learning to enjoy myself when I've earned it, and
isn't it crazy how just resistance training can help melt off all the fat, and like being a little cautious of like how much you eat and how your calorie intake, and it's even better if you can eat clean as possible, which it's difficult, you know what I mean? I struggle with it to this day. Me and Mitch were just talking about that, but it's just crazy, man. I mean, you went from 200 to 140 pounds, and how long did it take?
It took me over the course of 4 years.
Yeah. And I asked because, I hope that there's maybe a young kid that's watching this, maybe in high school, and he feels like, I'm never going to, be able to lose this weight, but you can, you gotta want it, like it. I didn't deal with that through school. I was like pretty much fit my entire life, but I dealt with it from like my later teens, so like 19 to like 26-ish, around there, and that kind of started changing shit. But like, dude, I have photos, dude, like I'll show you later, like of me, like I fucking look like a swollen freaking, I don't even know. It's crazy, dude, like just how much fat I put on during that time, you know what I mean? And it's even worse when you don't have facial hair through your whole 20s, and it's just, it was just bad, man, how bad I was out of shape. So I know that insecurity, especially for me, I was fit to now I look like a slob, you know what I mean? And it's like, what the fuck happened, Gabriel?
100%.
And it, really, it's just, I went into the dad mode and, husband mode, and just thought like, oh yeah, this is how it's done. That's how I always see it growing up. You know what I mean? Like, my dad didn't work out or anything, just worked, went home, took care of his family. But like, I was not happy at all, dude. Like, I mean, felt miserable. Like you said, like I felt miserable. I felt shy. I felt like insecure around people. And it was weird because I feel like I'm kind of a extra, not an introvert, so an extrovert, but like, when I would be out, it was kind of a facade, like a fake, like face I would put on, because I wasn't really happy, and I know that, like appearance isn't everything, but it's not only how I look, it's how I feel now, now that I've, completely 180'd my life and I've got myself to where I'm at now. I feel better. I feel more confident. I feel more relaxed. I don't feel so agitated all the time. I don't feel insecure, and it's really helped me develop into a lot better person than I was in my 20s, because I was a very irritable, pissed off at myself in the world type of person. You know what I mean? And, you know, maybe I hid it, you know, people that, you know, maybe were around me friends wise, maybe didn't see it as much, or maybe they did, you know, and, but, you know, a lot of people that were close to me seen it, you know, and they see the change. So, yeah, I would say that, you know, just, you know, getting into the physical fitness that you did when you were in high school, man, I'm sure turned your whole life around, you know, to like how you were to what you became.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And, you know, being 27, you talk about struggling in your 20s. Oh man, that speaks volumes. I like, even when I lost all that weight, you know, I had, you know, I was just really skinny, had loose skin. Like, it's fair to say for me, like one of my biggest insecurities is the gyno on my nipples. Like that stuff that's like one of my biggest insecurities in my life, because seeing like gynecomastia or just loose skin in general, where it's like poking through your shirt, that's always bothered me since.
Yeah, because you get it whenever you're obese. Yeah, yeah. No, I understand that.
It's always bothered me, and it's always like, if I was to the extreme that I felt like I can't do anything because of it. That's how like I've always just grown up with a very extreme mindset without realizing it, where it's either one or the other. It's never in between. And getting to that point of like being able to balance it, which is still a struggle for me to this day of, you know, I can't, going back to what I was saying, like I can't, if I'm going to be strict, I'm not going to eat anything for a long time, enjoying myself, from that to just, let me just indulge in whatever I want. It's been hard for me to kind of balance those two, because I've just always been accustomed and conditioned to just be one or the other, not in between. And I'm still dealing with it a lot. And like I said,
but you got to remember too, that, you know, you're not going to be perfect. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to be perfect. Your body's not going to be fucking perfect. There's going to be shit that's wrong, you know, that you don't like. You kind of just got to accept it, man. You know what I mean? Nobody's fucking perfect. Dude, you look at some of these Instagram chicks and these Instagram dudes that are all fucking, like, you're like, God damn, those people are beautiful. You know what I mean? But you see them in person, it's, you know, they have stuff, you know what I mean? And you probably don't even see it, but they see it on them. You know what I mean? Same thing with you. You know, there's probably things you don't like about yourself, but if you were to ask me, I'm not going to notice. You know what I mean? So like, you know, it's just over analyzing ourselves, you know, and being too critical, you know.
That just stems from self-isolating when I was a kid. That definitely is something I'm still breaking down to this day, that like, you know what? It is what it is. People are going to love me, hate me, whatever the case. I got to love myself, and just loving myself. And it's still a journey, but it's definitely better than when it was a year ago, 2 years ago. And it's a day-to-day thing. And
so when did you start getting into music then?
It's a bunch of different phases. I'll start with that. The first one, as a child, I was always into music. I can remember my parents telling me that I was a big crybaby growing up. And so anytime they would play music on the stereo, I would always just crawl or walk over there and just be in front of the stereo, listening to whatever they were playing at the time, and just being amused by it. And then as I got older, going back to with my coping mechanism, aside from all those different habits that I made, listening to music was another coping mechanism for me, to where every day I was listening to music on my iPod, on my PlayStation Portable, on anything I could listen to music to, just singing everything I was listening to, and just kind of getting that ear for music. And then the next phase of that was, I'm trying to remember.
Go ahead, take a drink, man. Take a drink.
Yeah, I'm just like.
No, you're good. You're good. Dude, were you like kind of a multiple genre type guy, or was it like just kind of one genre, or do you listen to a wide array of things?
I listened to the biggest one I know that really got me really into music was hip hop. I found hip hop when I was like 5
Which
5
makes
years
sense. The music that you make.
I found that on my own while I was, you know, in my room back in California, and I came across MTV, and I was like, what is this? And then it was like Eminem's My Name Is. I was like, what is this? And then discovering Eminem, then T.I., then Bone Crusher, all these different like hip hop artists. And then when I first started like even doing anything vocally aside from singing, with rapping, it was when I was like 13 years old, when I was in middle school, where I see these dudes. We had lunch outside of the school, and I see this big group of people, thinking it was a fight or something. I run over there and I see these two guys just rap battling each other. And I was like, what is going on? Because in the back of my mind, I always wanted to do it. But then seeing that inspired me to just start doing it. And so literally after we all went back inside, I just was like mumbling words to myself, trying to make rap, trying to do that. And then just kind of developing over time and just learning the skills and just figuring out what works for me. And then the next step from that was actually making music and actually putting it down for people to listen to. Was, I would say, when I was 19, I downloaded my first software to make music, and I was just making beats, instrumentations for 3 years and being like, oh, I'm just going to start, just produce for people, make music for people. And then 3 years in, I was like, I want to actually like make my own music. So in 2019, I was in college at the time, and I recorded and released my first song ever. And it was so bad looking back.
Oh, so it's something like, I mean, how old are you right now?
27.
So it's kind of recent if you think about it. So like, probably like the last 10 years you've been making music then?
Yeah. Just like, putting my foot in the door in it. And yeah, I mean, putting my first song out, I was like, man, this is life changing. This is going to be something I could see myself doing. And
but you're doing the beats and the music as well. So, okay.
Which I'm very, very thankful for, to make my own instrumentations, because
that's awesome.
It helps. It's very self-sufficient on my end, to where I was like, what am I going to make? What am I going to do? Most of the time when I make music, I don't know what I'm making, but as I start creating, I start figuring out what I'm going for.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, like, do you start to hear that in your head and you just got to get it out? Is that what it is? Like the beats, or do you kind of play with stuff and see what you can make?
It's mostly just playing around with stuff, because I have ideas, but knowing that I don't have the sufficient skill sets to really get it 100%. And that goes back to like having expectations for myself, which is another thing that growing up as a child is being comfortable in my own world. I developed my own sense of entitlement and expectations of everything, and I would always be disappointed. And with music, I had a very big expectation when I actually started releasing music. I was like, I want it to be like this. I want it to be like that. We got to get exactly. We have to get it exactly like this. If not, then I'm not even doing anything with
So that's how you were with like your very first song, and all of them after that, I'm guessing.
The very first, yeah, they're like in like 2020. Yeah, 2020, 2021. I was so adamant about, I got to get it 100% exactly how I pictured it. And then over time, I leaned off of it. But yeah, I was just dropping music, and I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And yeah, just over time, just giving myself enough grace to be like, it's not going to be perfect. I never really know what I'm going to make until I start creating. And once I finally have a foundation for it, then I'll go from there.
Yeah. And sometimes you just got to throw shit out.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? I was the same way with podcasting. It's like I was wanting to make it, like even if you look at some of the very first videos of this podcast, like, to me, it's like, I always think they could have been better, and I'm very thankful for the people who did come on, and they did great. You know what I mean? It was more of me, but like even a couple of them like were test ones, like the ones that with my brothers, like those are like test episodes, but like I was in such a funk. It was like, I got to throw something out, man. Like, I'm not reaching out to people. People aren't reaching out to me. I don't know what the hell I'm going to do. I got to start uploading content. So I just started throwing shit out, man. And I'm like, people may not like it, but maybe there's some that will, but it got the ball rolling. So once I threw shit out, it's like, oh, I don't care now. Now I'm just going to fucking just start, I'm going to reach out to people. And, when I started doing that, people started reaching back out to me, and then it's kind of been this beautiful game of like, if I see somebody, I'll reach out to them, or I'll have some people be like, hey man, can I come on? Like it's now that I've let those walls down, it's been like, it's been a cool, like a snowball effect, it's like, I got it going now. It's just kind of building itself up, and even like the last like month, I think, cause it's been a while since I dropped a video. I've been doing a lot of house renovations, training, all that shit. But like, even then it's like when you take that time off, it's kind of hard to get back going and get the gears turning, you know what I mean?
100%.
But, that's why I was happy to have you back on, cause I know you, so it's comfortable, and it usually is even with people I don't know here, but it's always nice to have like someone, to come on and talk, but like to get that ball rolling again, you know what I mean? And that's kind of what I've been doing. I'm picking back up again and setting dates with people and stuff like that, so I totally understand, man. You just got to throw that shit out and tell yourself to shut up. You know what I mean?
Oh man, I deal with that all the time still, with just reaching out to people, because with my music, it's obviously with anybody that's in the creative space, it's something that they hold dear to their heart, and sometimes letting people into that world can be terrifying, because for me it's like always being scared to not knowing what's going to happen. Is something good going to happen? Is something bad going to happen? That's another thing.
And we cling to the bad the most, you know what I mean? Because think 100%. About how many people probably tell you, I love your music. And then you always fear the couple of them that like, oh, I don't know if they like it. You know what I mean? Like those stick out for some weird reason.
Yeah, that's man, already dealing with imposter syndrome on that end. I'm like, man, it's like, do they actually like it though? Do they actually like? Even recently, I was out at a restaurant watching a UFC fight with some friends, and it was actually a mutual friend of mine in Mitchell's who I didn't even know he was there. I was on my way to the bathroom, and he was like, "Hey, Danny," and I was like, "What's up?" "Oh, what's up, dude?" And we were just talking. The next thing you know, he just starts reciting my lyrics to my song "Is It Bad?" And I'm like, externally, I was like, "Oh, bro, I appreciate it," but in my head, I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, it's weird seeing people actually enjoy my music, because obviously at the foundation standpoint, it's for you ultimately, but actually hearing people reciting your lyrics, or actually like sending me videos or Snapchats or text messages saying that they enjoy the music. I'm like, really? Like, because even when I'm like when I was in a super critical mindset of releasing music, where I was like, oh, it's not 100%, but I knew internally I wanted to just release it anyways.
Yeah.
And then people actually enjoying it, and just, like, wow, people actually enjoy it. And the hardest thing I've had to overcome is actually enjoying the music myself, because a lot of times I would release music and I wouldn't even hear it, listen to it at all. I wouldn't even think about it. And it wasn't until actually the last couple months, where working as an HVAC technician, where I'm just always driving around in my work van, just by myself, with my own thoughts, to the point where I say, I'm just going to listen to my own music. Screw it.
But does the artist ever really like their own music?
Depends on who you ask.
Because I don't like listening to myself on the podcast. Like, I have to edit this. So like I listen to it a couple of times before I release it, because I'm, doing the post edit. But like, I more enjoy hearing the guest, you know what I mean? But me, myself, I've always wondered that about, I mean, there's some things that I talk about and I'm like, damn, that was actually pretty good. You know what I mean? Like, you kind of nailed it on that. But like, I've always wondered how, if music artists, if they like rock their shit, you know what I mean? Like, they just like cruising with their shit on, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, how does it feel,
Every person is different. So what I can speak on myself is that for the longest time, I did not listen to my music. I didn't even want to touch it again. I was just like, I worked on it, put it out, don't want to think about it. And like I said, it literally took me until recently to realize that my own music, I'm like, this is kind of tight though. This is kind of good. Like, I actually enjoy this.
That's cool, dude. You know what I mean? Like, 'cause that's, you would think that'd be kind of weird, but that's cool that you got some walls coming down finally. You know what I mean? When before they were up, and maybe you listening to your music. I know it's helped me editing my podcast tweak a little bit for the next one. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I'm sure you're like, okay, that sounded great, but maybe I could do this, and this. Mm-hmm. And then you start calibrating for the next song. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It goes back to, just finding your groove, finding what works for you. And that's something I've developed with over time with my music, is knowing what sounds I like, what my go-to melodies are, or what, just like the little nitty gritty things. And I can say the same thing with editing, the little techniques that you find and that you like, and that you just stick them with and implement them to everything that you do in your videos. Same thing with music.
Dude, I love, and going back to Is It Bad? I love that song, dude. Who is the girl that sings in that?
That is my homegirl, Darcy Winter. She's from London, England. Yeah. Shout out to Darcy. You are amazing. Keep doing your thing.
Dude, her voice.
Man. It's crazy.
And your guy, and both of your voices together, it was like I don't know, you guys were like syncing together. Like, it was really cool. I don't know even how to explain it. I'm not a music guy, but when I've listened to it multiple times, it just went together. It flowed right. You know what I mean? It wasn't weird. It wasn't like her beautiful voice and then boom, it's just like, it flowed nice. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Oh man, that was probably the one song where I just really sat down like I'm gonna like really work on this like nitty gritty, because a lot of music I'm just flowing with it, but this one I'm like, I have an idea, let's make this happen. And the way that she was even on the song was was pretty much, she followed me on Instagram, right? I didn't know who it was, and I was like, oh, who is this? And so I checked her stuff out, and I was like, oh, she's pretty good. Like I like her voice.
And where's she from?
She's from England, London,
really?
England. So
fuck, she's not even from here.
No,
that's neat.
We've never met, and I hope we meet one day, because I want to perform that song with her. Like,
so you recorded, and then she recorded it, and then you kind of Oh, that's freaking awesome,
we were working on a 6-hour time difference.
I thought you guys were both in the booth together, fucking singing, dude. That's awesome.
The power of the internet, man, is crazy. But
that's cool that because like my biggest thing, like doing like Zoom podcasts, you don't get that same energy and that same connection as you do like sitting down here with me, like being able to look at me, being able to vibe and bounce ideas and timing and stuff like that. So I would think in music it'd be the same way. Like you kind of want to be at the studio together, you know what I mean, vibing. But it was you guys are so good that it like meshed well together, you know.
Yeah, that was the first song I ever did where I legitimately wrote down notes of how I want to approach it.
Really?
And like it was the first song that I ever could truly vision where I wanted to go with it. And once I put it down and just knew exactly, oh, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this, and it was like weeks long process. Just being that I would come home from work, she would just be going to bed, and we would just find some way, make time so that we can make it work. And we're so adamant about it. And once we finally put it out, it was just a relief that we finally did something amazing. And like in the same way, it was around that same time where I was, still very adamant about like, oh, I can't listen to my own music. I'll let people enjoy it.
What year was that?
This was we were working on this actually it was around the same time where I met Mitchell in September, October of 2021. So it's been
a couple years.
Yeah. So, and when I made that song and put it out, I was like, all right, this is it. And the reception that I got from that song was insane, on top of her promoting it and, her friends and her listeners that are on the other side of the globe listening. I was like, this is crazy, getting the most amount of love. And like so many people send me videos, like Mitchell sent me that video. And I was like, it was like the same feeling, like, what the hell? Like, is he really, they're really listening to this? They're actually enjoying this? Yeah. Like, what?
It's a beautiful song, dude.
Yeah, man.
I love it. Yeah. I like also the other one, I Don't Understand. That one's a freaking banger, man. That's a good song. Was that released before or after?
After. This is actually just recently.
So do you just have like a bunch of like just singles? You don't have like an actual album yet?
No, not a whole album. I've thought about doing albums, but it's just like,
you got to, dude. When was the last time you made a song?
Actually yesterday.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yesterday, yeah. It's actually a song.
But when was the last one you dropped?
A month and a half ago.
Oh, okay.
I Don't Understand was the last song I dropped.
Oh, okay. So that one's pretty recent.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Cool.
Yeah. And that one was like something I was sitting on since like, I would say July, August of last year, where I had the idea down and I had the melody down, but I was like sitting on it for a long time. I was like, I don't know where to go with this.
Yeah.
And then eventually I reached out to one of my friends, Andrew, who just killed it. I was working with him. He was one of the artists that I just really wanted to just break my walls down. I actually wanted to work with him. I met him when I had my skateboarding phase. And I was like, this dude is dope. I want to work with him. And so I sent him over the stuff. I was like, hey man, I had this idea. Do what you please. Like do what you want to do on it. I don't like to micromanage unless I really do have a specific idea, but most of the time it's like, hey, just do your thing. Do your thing. I know how crazy you go on verses. Just do your thing. And I let him do it.
So what part does he do?
He does the first verse.
Oh,
the first verse. So the first guy you hear is not me, it's him.
Oh,
and then I come in after him.
Gotcha.
So and it was like.
Are you doing the chorus too? Is that you? Yeah, I like the chorus a lot. That's really good. I like how you switch your voice up on that.
Yeah, it's for me, always coming up with melodies always hard for me because I was, I love music, but I never took the time to actually like try to learn how to develop melodies, how to do like the nitty gritty of it. I just
because you didn't really learn, right? Like you just all self-taught.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah. Pretty much watch videos and
YouTube University.
Pretty much, yeah, yeah. Just listening to other people's songs, where the hook for "Is It Bad" was actually inspired by a song by the artist of Charlie Puth. I heard one of his songs and I was like, I don't know where to go with this. And so I could develop that. And then
and how does that work? Do you just kind of like, you kind of record yourself and just kind of tweak it a little bit here and there, or, you know, like, cause that's gotta be difficult, especially since you didn't learn how to sing. So it's more of you're doing it the trial and error way, you know what I mean? So it's got to be difficult.
It can be, but sometimes, you know, when you have enough practice, it'll just something will click.
And some people just have it, you know what I mean? Like some people just, like, I know, like, you know, we like to think like, oh, you know, practice makes perfect, and it does for sure. But dude, some people just have talent. You know?
And one of those people that have talent, or two people are talent, is actually on a song. Have you listened to "Don't Give a Fuck"?
Is it your song?
Yeah,
I'm sure I've listened to every single song.
Yeah, it has the acronym DGAF.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah, one. That song is my favorite collaboration I ever done, because there were two people that are incredibly talented artists, and it was like seeing them. The first guy is Isai Signs. He's an amazing filmmaker, artist, actor in the Kansas City area, and oh my gosh, I was like, dude, I want to work with him. I want to do something with him, because he was someone I looked up to as a creative, and I've known him since like middle school. And we were, you know, he was such an inspiration to me. He still lives to this day. And he actually just texted me, which is crazy. Crazy how that works, right?
Yeah.
But and I was like, dude, I want to do a song with you. Let's do something. So he's like, all right, let's do it.
Yeah.
And then the other girl,
No, you can put it on silent.
Yeah, I'm about to do that right now.
No, you're good, bro.
Yeah. And the other artist, Peyton Osborne, is a girl that I've known in high school, and oh my gosh, she has the most amazing voice I've ever heard, and she went to one of the top music schools in the entire nation.
Is she on that song? Okay.
She's just doing a lot of
I'll have to re-listen to that one.
A lot of the harmonies, background vocals, and like she helped me out with it, and oh my gosh, like that song for me, it's my favorite because it was two people that inspire me as an artist, and to have them on the same song, it was such a dream come true. And of course, with a lot of artists, be like, oh, my dream collaboration is to do someone bigger, do like a big artist, this person, that person,
like a blue checkmark type person.
Yeah, but like with them, that was like such a dream come true for me, where it's like I look up to these people. They're inspiring, and to have them on this track is so fulfilling.
Well, I think too, and they're local. You know what I mean? So I think it hits different. You know, it's just like my podcast. I'm not seeking to get some type of celebrity on here. If it happens, it happens. But I look at you sitting in front of me just as equal to if so-and-so blue checkmark was sitting there. You know what I mean? Because you all have value in a way, you know, like a story. You are all worth, you know, something, you know, we all are, you know. You don't have to have the title of celebrity to be somebody, you know what I mean? So I think me and you are the same way, man. It's like, when we say we're wanting to, you know, we look up to somebody, or we really enjoy working with somebody, or, you know, for yours collab, it's like, it's different than I think what some people would think. And I wish more people would think kind of how we do, is see what's around you, you know what I mean? Rather than always idolizing, you know, people on TV all the time as, you know, they are the ones. You know, there's so many talented and beautiful people here locally, man. You know, it's crazy, you know, but no, dude, that's awesome, dude. Like your music is, it really hits, man. Like it hits, it's that type of songs, dude. And I'm such a glutton for these, you know, the kind of the sad, you know, like going through shit, you know what I mean?
Man,
dude, I mean, bro, if you see my playlist, bro, when I'm working out, you would think I'm fucking gonna kill myself in the fucking gym.
Oh man, you have no idea.
I don't know why, dude. It's just like you know, you get a good song like that, dude, and it just hits. You know what I mean? It's like, fuck, dude. Like you go through it, you know, and it kind of almost makes you feel a little better. You know what I mean? In a weird sense, you know, it's like, you're hearing that artist and you're hearing their story, you know, and you're relating, and it kind of feels like, oh, well, you know, I'm not the only one, you know, it kind of keeps you going.
It's something that I try to keep in mind of myself. And going back to what you were saying about like idolizing, instead of like, you know, instead of idolizing people, just focus on the people that surround. I still struggle with that a lot, because growing up and not being a social person, all I had was my phone once that technology generation was introduced, and all I had was my social media, and all I had was you know, was the YouTube, Facebooks, all that stuff, and that's all I knew. And I idolized people to the point where it's like I was living my life through them.
Right.
Like when I was one of my favorite artists of all time that inspired me as an artist is you ever heard Logic?
Oh, I love Logic.
I love dude.
Yeah.
To the point
I think I told you had a Logic vibe
exactly.
one time when we talked.
That's the crazy thing. 'Cause he was such a big inspiration of my own music, and that like to the point where I was such an extreme fan. I was like, you know, revolving my life around this dude. And then as I got older, I'm like, man, I gotta stop idolizing people. And like, and I still struggle with that to this day because you know when you're on social media, you're like, oh, comparing yourself. Where this dude has 300,000 followers. He has all these people, all these girls in his DMs, or this dude has millions of dollars. And I'm like, man, what am I doing? 27, 26 years old, still living in my parents' house. And I'm like, dude, stop.
Everybody has their path in life, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You never know when it's going to hit, and maybe it won't, man. You gotta love the process. I know how corny that sounds, but you know, you gotta just want to do it. If you don't enjoy it anymore, man, it's like, it's not for you. You know what I mean? That's the thing. You know, it's like kind of like working out. It's like you're chasing the end result, but really you have to learn to fall in love with the process because it never stops. You know, you just don't work out until you're fit and then go, okay, I'm done. You know,
I did that a lot with working out too, actually. Like that's kind of on the extreme mindset of, I worked out because I wanted to obviously gain muscle, be big, but I had no idea what I was doing. And like, I've had this conversation with Mitchell so many times about working out for the end goal, for just being muscular and, you know, being quote unquote attractive, being, you know, looked at, wanting to be looked at, and just knowing that if that's the case, then I might as well just not even try that.
Well, you have to be careful too. You know, the biggest thing I see from people in the conversations I have, and also with myself, you know, is that we set a standard that can sometimes be unrealistic. You know, we look at these people on Instagram, these Instagram models, you know, slim waist, big ass, you know, guys that are all buff and shit, you know,
six pack,
fucking
big
huge,
chest,
you know, shredded, you know, and you have to remember, one, a lot of the times when you see that, those people are doing cuts for that stuff, you know, to get to the lowest possible body fat as they can. I'm not saying they don't look good. They look good, you know, and they fucking earned it. They worked their ass off.
Yeah.
You know, but the thing is that if you start comparing yourself to them, and it's good to, you got to have something to look up to, but you got to be careful you don't go too much to where now you're making yourself not enjoy it because you're not getting there fast enough, or you're not perfect like them, because you're always going to find something, you know what I mean? But yeah, so you got to be careful of that. And then that's why a lot of people fall off, dude. Most people fall off from not working out because they don't get the results in 6 months. You know, it's like, and I get it. I fell off many times, dude. You know, I'm not perfect, but you have to learn to enjoy it, man. And that's what I've really, you know, done. And even working out, I don't necessarily enjoy, but luckily I found a sport that I kind of need to work out in order to be good at, you know, decent at. So the two go hand in hand. So it gives purpose, you know, and that's the biggest thing. You got to have purpose.
Yeah. That's how I feel about my music, and just like knowing that no matter what I go through, that's, for me, that's a creative outlet that no one can take away from me.
Right.
That it's like, I've already heard from some people throughout this journey being like, you should sing more, you should rap more, you should stop doing this, you stop doing that. And I'm like, what are you going to do? You're going to come to my house and take away my equipment? You're going to, you know, just not shut me up? Like, it's like, you know, constructive criticism is needed, but from the right people.
Right.
So, but yeah, I mean, that's something.
And really in the end, I think you know what you want. You know what I mean? It's good to bounce ideas off of other artists, probably. That would probably be the only one I'd probably take criticism from, is other artists, and maybe even then be careful of that, you know, trusted ones more than likely.
Yeah.
But like deep down, you know what you want, man, and throw it out there, and throw out, if you're true to yourself and you throw it out there, there's going to be people that like what you put out. Exactly. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, dude, you didn't tell me to go listen to your music. When we talked, we were just talking like friends. You know what I mean? I found your music. I thought it was fucking dope. I'm like, dude, it's awesome, man.
I appreciate that.
You know what I mean? Like, and we had never planned for you to come on or anything like that. I probably told you if you ever want to, you know, but I genuinely enjoyed your music, you know. So if I did, I know there's thousands of other people that probably do too. You know what I mean? Because you're being you.
Exactly. You know? And that's to the point now where over this 10-year journey, I'm actually starting to enjoy my own music. Mm-hmm. It's like finally getting to that point where it's like, hey, I can bake my own cake and eat it too. And it's like, even the newest stuff I'm working on and want to put out, I'm like, man, I'm so excited for this. And like, you know, the writing's getting better, the production's getting better. And like I would say like my favorite song I've ever written is a song I haven't even released yet, because it's the most realist things I've ever said. It's a culmination of everything that I've, you know, experienced over the last couple of years, from working with Mitchell to going through certain hardships, going through certain things, and finally being able to put the words together and actually, you know, putting it on the microphone and have it there for immortality.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure it's got to be difficult too, dude, because I mean, think about all the songs you write and you have to make them at least a little bit different. You know what I mean? Which, you know, tweak it here and there, you know. So I'm sure, I mean, sometimes I wonder, I don't know how you guys don't run out of shit to say, because goddamn, dude, like, you know, how many songs do you have on there? At least like 30 or, you know, something around there, you know.
I have plenty of ideas. I mean, it's just it comes,
and that's the creativeness. I think that's what I geek out over, like when people are that creative. I think it's neat, dude.
Yeah. And being able to reflect on it too. I mean, when you talk about just how, you know, I've realized how depressing my music can be. It's so sad. And I was looking back and listening back to all my music, and I'm like, man, I write a lot of sad shit.
Yeah, but I think that's fine.
Yeah, and like, you know, being proud of it, you know, because
there's some people that just talk about fucking hoes and money. Yeah. Like there's rap out there that's just like, I'm in the club fucking throwing, you know, like that's all they talk about the whole time.
Yeah,
you know
time and place for everything.
And
that's
people,
all it is.
Some people like that shit. Some people don't. I have days where I kind of like that, get uppity, you know, at the gym or whatever, you know, get crunk, you know, and you know, get the fucking energy going. But then there's sometimes when I'm chilling and I have my headphones in and I kind of, maybe I'm going through a little something and I throw on one of your songs, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, maybe it's not the healthiest, but it helps me.
It helps in some way.
What's healthy? Yeah, how do we judge?
Yeah.
You don't, you know what I mean? You kind of got to go off of what helps you, you know what I mean? And if it's not, I think if it's not negatively impacting anybody or myself, I don't see why not. I don't see why it's not a bad thing, you know what I mean? But I could understand why maybe you're like, damn, I don't want to pigeonhole into like one specific type. But you got some uppity songs in there too. So
yeah, my song, a couple songs I released back in January, probably you know, Tell Me Why. Mm-hmm. That one's my favorite one, instrumentation wise, because it's a song that what I like in my own music. Like, I'm sure like you have your things that you like about your videos, different you know, techniques. My thing is like, I like really wavy melodies, super chill, but I also like really hard hitting drums. And that was the first beat that I was like, this is everything I wanted into one song, where it's like super wavy, spacey, chill melodies, but with hard hitting drums. I'm like,
kind of like your videos. I really enjoy your videos. I know you said you make them right on, but like the way you shoot stuff, you know, kind of raw, and then like kind of how like that chill, lax vibes, you know, almost that like lo-fi vibes, you 100%. Know what I mean? Like I like that shit, you know, because I'm a big synthwave type guy, so like I'm listening to like Nightcall and shit. Like I love that. I love that shit, bro. Like 80s stuff, dude. Like that's my stuff, man. And so I love the energy you got. I think keep that, and then just keep building off of that, man. You know, and like, yeah, and then don't worry about too, like, you know, if you make too many of one songs, who gives a fuck? You know what I mean? Like they're all bangers, so it doesn't matter.
The next song I'm dropping I'm so excited to put it out, because
when does it come out? Does it come out soon? I mean, you don't have to give me a date, but it's like coming out pretty soon.
I think it's coming out in the plan is sometime in October, the beginning, middle of October. I just got to get the, you know, logistics side, the cover art, all that little behind the scenes stuff. But it's one of my favorite songs because it's a mixture of wavy, and then it's two-part. It's a two-part song where it's just a wavy section, and then it goes into like a hard-hitting section, but it still has real stuff talking about how much I've progressed as a human being, and then from that progression being able to, you know, enjoy the fruits of my labor of that progression that I've made throughout the entirety of my life.
That's dope. I've actually been enjoying it, because I've been hearing some songs like that where it'll be like one melody or one whatever for a while, and then the beat will change up.
Exactly.
You know, I really enjoy those, dude. It's pretty dope, you know. But yeah, man, that's awesome, dude. I got to talk to you about getting a song for this podcast. That's what we need to do.
Dude, honestly, if you need to want me to make a beat for you, if you're kind of looking for something, like if for me, it's like I never know what direction I'm going for in terms of music, but like once I kind of have someone tell me, oh, I want to have something like this, like I could probably make it happen for you.
Yeah, you know, like I'm a big Logic, Kanye fan. You know what I mean? Like, you know, Devil in a New Dress is like my favorite album. So like, I even have it on the record upstairs. It's the intro to this podcast.
Yeah.
But like, that's kind of my like kind of vibe feels. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, man, like, yeah, your stuff, man. I can't wait to check out that new one, man. That's gonna be awesome, dude.
I got 2 songs that I'm just like, oh man, I'm ready to put them out and have fun with them. I mean, same thing with like, I'm sure you got plenty of other guests that you're trying to, you know, get on the podcast. And like, something I wanted to ask you though was like, what made you want to get into podcasting in the first place?
Oh, you know, I have a little thing up, a little post that I put up of like kind of why, like a brief. I'm not really much of a writer. I do a podcast. I'm more of a talker.
Yeah, exactly.
But same I'm more of a talker. But yeah, like I don't know, dude. It really. I don't want to be corny about it, but it kind of saved my sanity. You know what I mean? And I know podcasts are so overlooked now because there's so many of them. But when I was listening to them, there was like only a handful. You know, and you know when I found like the Rogans and TFATK and all these other podcasts that I listened to. I mean, dude, I listen to shit from true crime to fucking local, a lot more local nowadays. Like a lot of the, you know, Big Mod and I-70 podcast and, you know, all these little local ones they got around here, man. Like, it's been great. You know what I mean? They're just popping up but yeah, man, it really helped. Like for me in the job I was at, very isolating, very, you know, 10 hours, 12 hours type shit.
Yeah.
And I can't just sit there and stare in the distance. Like some of these guys, dude, they got to be bots, man, because they're just like fucking no headphones, raw dogging a 10-hour shift. I can't do that, dude. I cannot do that, bro. And so I would listen to them, dude, and you know, it was just cool because I could go to something educational, to something funny, you know, some of them mixed all that together, you know, and out of that, when I was listening to it, it was like cool conversation, man. It was like I felt like I was surrounded by people and listening, you know, to what they were talking about. It kept me kind of informed, you know, and, you know, I know not everything was true, so I would try to filter it the best I could, but you know, it was just cool, man. It just kept my mind stimulated, you know, rather than just going stir crazy at a shop, you know.
Yeah, so. It makes sense. Yeah.
But yeah, man. And then so I started mine. I started Purple Pill with some friends because I was like, you know, we're fucking talking all the time. We're big conspiracy guys, you know. It's kind of around COVID, you know, so that was kind of like fucking pissing me off. And so we started that, and then we, you know, went deep dove into that shit. And then when we stopped doing it, I had always planned to have my own, you know, but dealing with that took a lot of my time, and it was actually only audio. Wish we could have done some video, but I was like, dude, once I stopped there, I fell off for a while, kind of got back to my shit together. And I'm like, I'm going full on video, audio, everything. I didn't know how to do anything. All I knew how to do was the audio. And I had to learn that from the last podcast. So kind of like you, all self-taught, YouTube University. And then launched mine. And I literally put the first episode out and then went ghost. I didn't post for another year. Like one episode, that's it. And it's the very first episode, my buddy Raphael. And I'm glad he came on. You know, he really helped me out. But like just kind of went ghost. And then that's kind of when I got into like, just, I got to throw some shit out. You know what I mean? So I started throwing stuff out and, you know, it kind of just started doing itself. You know what I mean? Really? I mean, you know, I did do the work, you know, I'm doing all the editing and reaching out and communicating and scheduling, but like now it's just kind of become a routine. So, and it's helped me, man. I've met so many cool people, dude, you know, so many cool people here locally, guests, you know, and we can kind of come on and talk without any distractions and, you know, have something like kind of time capsuled on YouTube you know, to 10 years from now, you go back and listen, you may cringe a little bit, you know, but, you know, you may be like, damn, that's also cool. You know, like some of the, not everything out of an hour to 3 hour podcast is going to be the most amazing thing, but, you know, there's a bunch of gems in there that's like, oh, I remember that time in my life. Oh, I remember, you know, when I did that, you know, when we spoke about that. So
would you say it's almost therapeutic in a way?
Very, very therapeutic. And I think a lot of it is because I was very, I'm not going to say I was like too reserved, you know what I mean, growing up, but I was kind of a quiet kid, you know, and around certain select individuals, I was myself, you know, but more around people. I mean, even all through high school, dude, I graduated from Oak Park, and I was like this weird kind of, thought I was a thug and shit, you know, and just fucking to myself and my own kind of little group of friends. And, you know, so I kind of thought I was hard, you know, and just kind of like try to have that bad boy, you know, like image, you know, and almost too extreme where I mean, I had friends and I talked to people, but I kind of wished I was a little more outgoing. You know, I wish I would have talked to certain people. I wish I would have kind of came out of my shell a little more instead of trying to have this defense mechanism up to where, you know, I think it looked like I was trying to keep people away. Really, I was trying to keep myself away. Really, because I was always worried about being judged or, you know, I also had a really bad temper, you know, at the time. And, you know, it's just, yeah, man. So like really to be able to sit down with people now is nice because I'm able to connect and meet people and, you know, get to know them and their stories, man. Dude, when I'm out and people do talk to me, I'll talk their fucking ear off for like 30 minutes, you know, 45 minutes. So I'm like, at least if I make this, I know they want to be here. You know what I mean? Like I'm not bothering anybody. I always tell everyone it goes on however long you want to go take it, you know, but you know, so it's kind of, it's been cool, man. It's been a really cool experience. I've gotten great feedback and it's just that thing I love, kind of like you love music. Yeah. I just love sitting down with people and hearing about kind of where they came up. I think it's neat, man. I think it's neat to hear another human being's story. And even though they think, well, it's just a regular, nothing flashy. Yeah. I don't really care. You know what I mean? It's like, I still think it's cool, you know? And I think, you know, you deserve to have your story out just like Joe Schmo with the blue check mark. You know what I mean? Like we all got shit we're going through. The stuff you might be talking about today, you may help 3, 4, 5 people. You know what I mean? And that may be like, oh, well, that's not a lot. That's better than zero.
Yeah, that's how I am with my music. And like even you talking about how you were in high school, I was pretty much the exact same way. I was overweight, shy, insecure. I was super socially awkward. Sometimes I would even come off as a tryhard, as creepy. And I was like, that was never my intention. I just didn't know how to I just didn't have social skills. I didn't know how to talk to people. And then over time, eventually, like the way I started getting social skills was I met some friends my senior year of high school where I started going out. I'd never been to a party up until my sophomore, junior year of high school. I was like, oh, I want to go out. I want to do this. I want to have fun. And like, just for a whole summer, for like 2, 3 summers, I was just going out, but ironically wasn't doing like drinking or nothing. I just didn't do any of that stuff.
That's good. Just like, I did a lot of that. That was not fun.
It just really wasn't for me, but I just remember I would always go out just for the intention of feeling included. Yeah. But yet still feeling like I was an imposter, like I shouldn't be here because I wasn't doing what people were everyone else was doing. Like, yeah, I might go talk to a girl, maybe I'll drink, but I honestly didn't want to. I really didn't want to. And like the same way of like keeping my walls up as well, where I want to talk to people, but I'm just like, I don't know if I should, or like I would get in my head because I know I have that confidence in myself and I do want to talk to people. I just was super scared. Like my whole life, I was a scared human being of everything, of just pushing out of my comfort zone, you know? And so that's where now is overcoming that hill, you know, and thinking to myself, I'm only 27. I'm still young. I'm not, it's not the end of the world. Like when I was 22, 23, telling myself, oh man, it's going to be the end of the world. Like I'm not where I'm supposed to be. I don't have $1 million. I don't have this. I don't have that. But it's like,
you're going to deal with that through your whole life though. Yeah. I still deal with that now at 32. You know, I always feel like I'm not doing enough, but I think the key is, because I thought that if you did all this stuff, it would just get fixed. But I think it's just like you need to acquire the tools to be able to manage it. That's my biggest thing. And maybe I'm wrong. You know, I'm not a professional at this, but it's like I am taking tools, working out, jiu-jitsu, talking to individuals like you, and I'm taking these things and I'm using them, and it's helping me stay on path, you know, without veering off. And I have my days still, you know, I'm not, you know, not a saint, you know, but those things have really helped me. And I think about this a lot. If I wouldn't have found those, would I still be doing all the stupid shit I was doing? Like I told you, with the drinking and the partying, because I was I get like, it's funny because, you know, I can sit here and talk to somebody for 3 hours, but in a crowd, I get kind of social anxiety.
I'm the exact same way.
Yeah. Like even when I talk, like sometimes, and I think it's gotten a lot better now, but before, like I almost like my hand would be kind of shaking a little bit, you know what I mean? Or like my lip or something, you know, when I'm talking, you know, it'd be kind of, it's not that I was like scared. It was like, I was just kind of like nervous, you know, like it was weird. It was a lot of fucking shit going on.
Exactly.
So I would drink, and then it would stop all that, you know? So I'd go get in there. I didn't know how to stop, you know? So if I'm drinking, I'm like, I'm going to get fucked up, you know? And then it's just like, I think back, and I was just having a conversation today with an individual on this, you know, because, you know, they're young and they're drinking a lot during their young, you know, their early 20s and stuff. And they're out partying at Westport and stuff like that, Power Line, all the shit I did. And I'm not saying don't do it, but like, man, it's not something I look back on and I'm like, oh, thank God I did that. You know what I mean? And in reality, I kind of wish I didn't do any of it, you know, like, or at least did it at like a better time in my life to where I could, one, control drinking, control my actions, because all I did was get drunk and do stupid shit. You know what I mean? Like, that's because of how I felt around, I didn't feel secure. I didn't feel confident. I didn't feel, you know, and it gave you the liquid courage to, you know, go out and hang out with people. You know?
And that's how I was, like, not with drinking, but just like because I was late to the social skills game, that I did a lot of dumb shit when I was, you know, older, 18, 19, 20, up to like 22, 23, doing a lot of dumb shit, making stupid decisions, hurting people, burning bridges, leaving a bad perception of people, and convincing myself that I could do no wrong, but not knowing the fire of destruction I left behind. And I'm like, you know, now
everybody goes through that.
Man. Yeah. And I'm like, man, which is like, I don't know what would have happened if I didn't have, you know, for example, Mitchell in my life. Like he was one, like, man, if I would have never met him, and if I would have never had the help and training that he's given me, I probably would have been way off the rails, like getting closer and closer to making a decision I will regret for the rest of my life, or making just dumb decisions that will just eventually catch up with me, and all like just come at an inflection point or something.
Right.
And just understanding that at the end of the day, we're just human beings. We make mistakes, but just like, how will you learn from those mistakes? What is going to happen? Like, because it's like, he's always taught me, he's like, you control what you can, you accept what you can't. And you just got to give yourself grace in circumstances like that. And that's something that I've just recently really been thinking about as I've been just going through my days of, like, you know, going to work and really being a responsible adult. Because all that time I like, let me put it to you this way. I didn't have a job until I was 23.
Really?
Never worked a job, because that's how comfortable I was. The idea of getting a job was terrifying. And the first job I ever got was a busser. And I was like, oh, I'm so scared. Like, I'm so scared. And then over time, eventually got over it. And like, just putting it into perspective of having to grow up. You know, I don't want to be a 35-year-old still being a young, immature little child that I once was. And I still see videos of that, of like seeing podcasts of videos of people that are in their 40s, 50s, still acting like an immature little fuck. And I'm like, what? Like, kind of gives me grace, but also knowing that I have to keep on my path, whatever it is. And also humbling myself. Like, one of the things that I reflect on is I have to make sure I do not act bigger than what I actually am. And that stems from insecurity, masked as ego, and just telling myself, like, you don't act like something you're not. And when you're growing up, you're going to have those moments. And I dealt with that for a long time. Like just being like, oh, I got to put on a front. I got to put on a show. Be like because I have that entertainer-esque in my blood. Like I've always loved to entertain people, but doing it in the wrong way, where it's like put up a front, like I'm facade, like this is who I am. Yeah, this is me. Ha 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 ha. But it's like, now it's that this is who I am. I'm gonna tell you who I am, and not be afraid or deny it, or at the end of it, just be comfortable in my own skin. And it's always a tug of war.
Is that why you think you probably have imposter syndrome sometimes? Because you're different when you're making music than you are in like behind closed doors?
Not just with music, but just in my life in general. And that just could be just whenever I was.
Because you're very confident in your music videos and in your songs, you know what I mean? But then some of the content that you have out there of breaking down the walls and seeing truly the things that you're dealing with, you go, damn, is that the same person? You know what I mean? Like it's kind of two split different people. But I don't personally think that's bad, because I think we're all a little bit different in different scenarios. If you see me at work, you probably wouldn't recognize me if you watched my podcast. You'd be like, God damn, that dude says like 3 words. You know what I mean? But then on a podcast, he doesn't shut the fuck up. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
So and I could see how you're like how that could become like an imposter syndrome. It's like, well, who am I? Like, why am I this? And then I don't act like this all the time, but it's just human beings.
Yeah. It's just like,
you think Logic's that confident all the time in his life? No, he talks about it all the time.
Yeah. That's how it is. Yeah. With. I mean, I always just deal with like, my whole life is just who I am. Who am I? Who am I? Because it's like, who am I as a person? As how am I perceived, and how do I see myself? And I, for a long time, questioning that, having to ask myself that question and not knowing the answer to it, and then over time, getting those subtle answers to those questions that you want to know so bad, then you're like, it's such a like. Almost want to like just cry of relief, just and not being afraid to put that out there.
Yeah,
and that's where like I still struggle with it. Obviously it's a human being thing to do.
Have you ever thought of maybe not asking yourself that?
What do you mean?
Like anytime those questions arise in your head, just ignore it. Like don't let it consume you. Like sometimes you have to shut that shit off, and it can be hard.
Oh yeah. Like
I deal with it too, but that book right there, that meditations book, I don't know if you've read that, but I really suggest you do that. Stoicism has really helped me out a lot on kind of like controlling inside here, because sometimes, dude, we eat ourselves up, man. And you got to stop living the present. Stop always trying to wonder who the fuck you are and what you're going to be and all. You are going to miss out on everything in front of you, and then you're just going to dwell about the past because you weren't in the moment. That's my biggest issue. And that book has really helped me kind of zero in. And it's not like a book that you read and you're done with. It's a book you continue to reflect on. And, even if you go through that, you'll see stuff highlighted and stuff like that, and if you're feeling a certain way, it's kind of like if you were to put on a video on YouTube, and there's tons of stoicism videos on YouTube as well. But like, go back, reflect on that, and it'll help you. Almost like, religion and the Bible, how people have comfort from that. I think people really need that. And I have been one to bounce in and out of religion. And really right now, me and Mitch are actually talking the other day, he's like, you're a Christian. I know you are, like, because he hears how I talk, and, and I'm so on the fence of like identifying, you know what I mean? But I do believe in, hopefully that there's a higher power and somewhere else, but like, I think it's comforting, I idolize people who can like just give their self to God. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I used to be such a shit talker on that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, oh, fuck, those guys, people are crazy. Listen to their sky god and, like just kind of just immature and cruel about that, But now the older I get, it's like, well, who am I to judge? If that's what they're, gives them comfort and helps them, you know what I mean? Why not? Like, what's this all for? It's really... we all have one thing in common. We're going to die. Yeah. So let's at least live our life the best we can. And if that makes people better and it helps them cope with the road that they're on, because we're all not going to be this, top celebrity making millions of dollars, like you may just live a normal average life, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I think tools like stoicism or religion will help you be okay with that, because we're always wanting so much. I mean, shit, this thing right here,
you have no idea that how much this is having a giant impact on my own life. I mean, you're just talking about I mean, even I've had conversations with Mitchell as well, where I am the epitome example of living in instant gratification, where I had everything easily accessible. Mm-hmm. And I remember I was looking at one of your clips of talking about having all the useful resources and tools that are at your disposal and using them. I mean, for me, it's always been hard for me to do that, because I come from that generation being that I have all these tools at my disposal, but I've fallen to the instant gratification standpoint of, just watching cat videos, watching a bunch of celebrity shit, getting older, watching porn, or watching all this, crazy stuff that'll just instantly satisfy your stimuli. Yeah. And I still struggle with it for sure. And having to overcome that and being having to get over just instant gratification, because on top of that, as I was explaining earlier, that I had everything given to me. I never really had to work hard for anything. And the idea of having to really bust my ass to do something, to achieve it, is the most terrifying thing. When I first got presented this, was oh my gosh, dude, this feels like it's going to be life or death, and just feeling oh man, I have to work hard at something. But at least knowing now that I have to, or otherwise I'm just going to be a complacent bum that's not going to do anything with his life. And I know I don't want that. I'm not, I don't want to let my family down. I don't want to let myself down. I don't want to let the people I love down. Coming from Mexican immigrants who came here to the United States to really give us a better life and to do something with it. And now having to have my own responsibility of being I have to keep progressing as a person. And my own heart is my biggest, I wouldn't say insecurity, but just mental hurdle is having confidence in myself and trusting myself to get it done, whatever it is I do, somehow, some way. I know with music, that's one thing, but just everything that I do in my life, it's always been hard for me because of just multiple different things. And examples that just instant gratification and being oh man, I can't, I want to keep watching this, but okay, I'll give into my impulses, give into my, urges. And with Mitchell, we've talked about that a lot and worked on it. And, having those moments where it's I'm just cutting it off and then relapsing and then not doing it. And just this constant back and forth.
Well, I would say you could still watch cat videos, because I watch cat videos myself. I love cat videos. But yeah, man, moderation, man. I mean, that's just really what it comes down to. And I don't know, the working hard, I've had a blue collar job forever. I'm not out there fucking digging holes or anything. I know there's levels to this shit, but I think it's good to experience that too. But you also have to remember, and you're still at the age and the way your life is right now where you can find something that you like. And it doesn't always have to be backbreaking, to feel some type of validation that you're a man and you're strong. You know what I mean? My job's not it's a dirty job, I mean, it's not, too straining, but what keeps, for me to release my energy, especially as a man, I do hard things like sports and working out and stuff like that. That's helped. You know what I mean? Yeah. Some people want to go dig trenches all day, and that's how they get it. It's what you like, man. And that's really what I think you have to find. And you also got to be careful too, coming from that Mexican background, because I see it and I've worked with it, and I've, family and friends. You get caught into this mindset, especially the immigrant mentality, of coming here. And I know it's not like they necessarily have a choice, and so, they'll have to work 1, 2, 3 jobs, but it's almost become an identity, to where and I've heard it before in the circles and the conversations I've been in, like, oh, you only got 2 jobs, I'm about to go to my 3rd, or, you don't work hard enough, or you don't do enough. Like, it's almost a little worrying to me. It's like, because just the other day, I was at Starbucks out in by IKEA off Johnson Drive, and it was like a fucking Sunday, dude. And there's dudes out there working. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And building apartment complexes out there.
Yeah.
And, while I salute and, I'm like, damn, but I know that someone's dad, someone's son or brother or whatever's husband, and they're out there, working their fucking ass off, dude. And like I said, I don't know their financial situations, I don't know. I do know personally a lot, ones that I know that get paid pretty well, but it's almost like you get addicted to the grind, and then you kind of lose out on shit like that. So you have to be careful, dude, of like comparing, because it's not always the healthiest, you know what I mean? And I see no wrong in kind of how your father came and he worked himself up, and he probably doesn't want you to have to go through that shit. He probably wants you to earn your stripes, but not necessarily losing out on all the shit he had to lose out on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's something that I do know, that some moments I can think of where I always think about his work ethic, not thinking about, I got to work 3 jobs like him, or I got to work 12-hour shifts every fucking day, working almost 7 days a week.
I'm surprised he retired. Normally guys like that fucking are on that grind for that long, it's like they don't know what to do.
He's just
he at home fucking fidgeting and shit, like he's looking for something to do.
He's always in the house, just trying to work on something around the house, because I know he always likes to. He's very hands on.
Well, think about it, bro. He's been fucking working his ass off for so long. He doesn't know anything else. It's like it's weird to him to probably just sit around. You know what I mean? I understand. I'm not going to try to always go out there and work on something, but like if I'm in the house for too long, I got to get out. Like I got to go train, or I got to go, do something, drive around, go try a new restaurant or something, get away,
I definitely like doing stuff like that. And like, it's for me, 2 things when it comes to my family and the work ethic. I always make sure that I don't want to repeat that same grinding, but like do it more efficiently, but just having that work ethic in general as the main, having that work ethic has to be there, making sure that I don't give up. Like when I was in college, I was, sometimes I was falling behind in class, or I didn't care. But when it was grind time, when it was go time, I always think about my dad's work ethic, and then I just kick shit into gear.
Right.
And thinking about like, how can I get through this? How can I get through this? My dad's busting his ass right now, working. What the hell am I doing being, a Gen Z, this generation's, just laying on bed, not doing shit, being that child of a hardworking Mexican immigrant, and then being that child of like, I got everything given to me, I don't have to do shit. But now having to be a hard worker in some capacity, having to grind for something. I mean, even then I still struggle with, oh man, shit's hard, but at least being aware that it's going to be hard, and I just have to do it. Like my thing, I have to deal, like for me, knowing myself is something I know about myself, is that I'm not sure what everybody can relate to this, is that the initial approach, looking at something and wanting to do it, but being terrified of doing it. You're like,
everybody's usually like that, especially on something new.
Exactly. And I'm like, okay, cool. And seeing it from an outside perspective, not just being like, it's just me, but actually opening my eyes up and actually seeing that, okay, it's not just me, and that I can do this, and it's terrifying. But once I get in the door, like same thing with jujitsu, like, man, I was terrified. And even now, wanting to go back in, I'm like terrified. I'm being like thinking about, what if this happens? What if they fuck up my shit? What if this happens, and then that happens? If this happens, just this constant, like, he's talking about stoicism.
That's why you got to shut it off.
I know. And just actually
got to do it. I got to do that shit all the time. Even I had to work out today, and I was getting off of work, and I'm like, fuck. Yeah. Driving home, I'm like, damn, 30 minutes. I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this. And then it's like, shut up, Gabriel. Turn it off. Turn it off and just do it. Go through even if you just have to go through the motions, even if you just have to go to jiu-jitsu and just go through the motions, that's it. You may not be your best, but just go through the motions. Yeah. And then it snowballs. Kind of like when you threw out your music, you're like, fuck it, throwing it out.
Yeah.
And then it snowballed after that. You know, that's everything in life, dude.
Yeah. It's crazy. I'm going to take a break. I got to piss.
No, you're good. Yeah,
I love these conversations.
Let's break.
These are amazing.
What's up?
I was trying to think, what else were we talking about?
We're talking about a lot of shit.
Man. I know. I just love having conversations. I remember.
No, I think. So hold on, we're back. All right. I think what you're doing's good. You know, you got that HVAC job, right? You know, you're doing that shit. Look at it as temporary. Okay. That's what I would look at it as, you know, because it may not be something you love, you know what I mean? But just do it, man. Just do it.
Exactly.
Build skills, you know, and sometimes I don't love machining, you know, but I've tried some other shit, some project management work and stuff like that. And it's hard to find a home, man. You know what I mean? Like, especially how companies are ran nowadays. It's all fucking, what can we cut the most? How do we make the most profit? Fuck the employee, give them the bare minimum. Yeah. At least at the companies I've worked for. And it's like, but sometimes you just got to settle, you know what I mean? And then chase your passion on the side, you know, like what you're doing with music. Use those tools, you know, get your money, acquire, you know, maybe a skill just in case you need to fall back on it. You never know.
Yeah.
I'd fucking hate machining, but I damn well fall back on that thing all the time because it pays decent.
Yeah.
And so, you know, have that, and then like, you know, shop around, find other stuff. You know what I mean? Like I said, it doesn't have to be a backbreaking job, but find something that you don't mind waking up to in the morning. I think that is the goal. You know, you're never going to be fully happy. You know, I'm sure sometimes you get tired of editing music sometimes, you know what I mean? I get tired of editing podcasts sometimes. But, you know, it's like find something that you're like, it's all right. You know, it's okay. I can do this. You know, I'll be all right, you know. But then, like, I think the most, man, and it's so crucial for people. This is why I love this. And I think it's a form of therapy almost. You got to talk to people. You got to find people that you can talk with and release, you know, that stuff, you know, like vent, get this stuff out, man. And I know it's hard, especially to trust people, you know, and sometimes it can be very, you know, deep conversation, you know what I mean? Like very deep, you know, it's like, I don't know if I want to tell you, you know, it's kind of hard to trust, but like, I wish everybody had like a group, like a little circle they could kind of just let everything out to and feel better and, you know, get some benefit out of it, you know, and kind of leave and like be like, okay, I learned something today. Like I know I need to change this about myself, kind of like how you and Mitch do. You know, I think so many more people would be a lot more happier and a lot more better off in life if they had that. And we don't. We stick our faces in these phones, man. You know, and I'm guilty of it too. Yeah. You know, and I try to tell myself to stop. You know, I always got to tell myself to put it down. You know, talk to people. You know, reach out. And, you know, I try to make the effort, you know, until I see the eyes glazing over. And then I'm like, okay, I tried with you, buddy. You know, I tried talking with you. You don't want to listen, whatever, you know, move on, you know, I can't help everybody, you know, but it'd be really neat, you know, to see over time, like people, you know, developing groups and stuff like that to be able to talk to one another and bring people up. You know, I mean, I think the world needs that. Yeah,
I mean, coming from the background coming from the upbringing of isolating myself, the idea of I remember I would always jump from friend group to friend group and being like, "Is this where I belong? Is this where I belong?" Because I was just trying so hard to figure out where I really place, just straight up, just hard plant of
and to be accepted. Probably.
Exactly, and like also in the back of my mind having expectations of like, okay, they're gonna like me for this, they're gonna like me for that, just like, but not having the expectations is gonna be so much more relieving because of the fact of you know, you don't know what you're getting yourself into, but it might be good. And like for me, it's always been hard for me to like, fair to say, I never had a best friend, quote unquote, growing up. I never had like a friend group that I was always around. I was just kind of going from person to person and just kind of being like, I don't know what I'm doing. I have my idea what a friend is, and like having those people that were just there for the party scene or for just at work or at school, but never actually hanging out with them, and having those select people and like and always coming back to I'm just being by myself, you know. And at least that's what my own like experience is like. But of course, having the people, talking to people is always good. And for me, like, you know, I could talk to people for hours. There was a point where I would be talking to people there was one person I talked to for 7 hours straight.
Oh shit.
It's like, that's how much like I love talking to people.
Yeah.
And like the same way with like, as you were saying, with having social anxiety when you're around a lot of people, I'm the exact same way. Like with us, one-on-one, I can have a great conversation, a long conversation. But when it's like a lot of people watching or people in a group, I'm like, because there's just so much going on the same way where I'm like, I don't know what, maybe it's just, I don't know. Just like, what should I do in those kind of situations? And like, I always used to tell myself that all I have in this world is me. And like, there's a bit of truth to that, but it's not if that makes sense, where it's like, at the end,
because technically I mean, at the end, it's going to be just you, you know what I mean? Through life, it's always going to be you. But yeah, it doesn't always have to be like, you can still rely on people, and it's hard, man. It's hard to find good people, but you got to try.
Exactly.
You're going to take some L's, everyone does, but sooner or later, you'll find, good people to surround yourself around, especially the older you get, I feel like.
The more I bring down my walls, the more, because those things were built up.
Well, because it's hard to feel vulnerable. You know what I mean? You're scared that you're going to be rejected. You're scared you're going to be made fun of. You're, so many different things. And you're like, I don't want to. I'm just going to act like this person, and not be my true self, One thing, though, I do, and I know, I say it so much, but training in a martial art, man, some type of combative sport will bring a confidence to you, and not this confidence like, oh, I'm fucking badass, you know what I mean? It's a weird calmness, you know what I mean? Especially now, like when I'm out in settings like that, it's like, it's a lot easier. And I don't know if it's because I just had this built up energy inside me and I just got weird and I'm like anxiety and shit. But like when you go to these gyms and you release that shit and you build this skill and you meet other people that, you kind of become friends with, and then, you bounce ideas off each other. I mean, because, you know how it is. You've been there at the end of the night. We don't just talk about jiu-jitsu. We talk about fucking life a lot of the times, or crack jokes, you know, and it's just a good time. And so now I notice, like when I'm out, you know what I mean? I'm not looking to get drunk and try to open up to people. I'm just myself now, you know, and I really honestly believe that, and it doesn't have to be just jiu-jitsu, it can be any martial art that has given me the ability to really handle those situations. You know what I mean? I really wish I would have found it a lot sooner, man. And, to anybody watching this thinking that they don't have the time, I'm not saying you got to go 6 times a week. Go 2 times a week if you can.
Yeah.
That's a lot better than 0, man. Yeah. Go, it will humble the shit out of you, man. Like, and it'll make you also realize that, like, holy shit, like there's a lot of people that don't know how to fight at all. You know what I mean? And it's weird because when people think of violence, they kind of think of like bullying and stuff like that. But like it's not like that, man. It's so respectful, man. So controlled. You got to go experience it.
Oh yeah.
You got to go to experience it to appreciate it. And especially jiu-jitsu, man. Like like you, dude, go like you, whatever age, and I mean, I'm not going to say it's the safest sport, what is, you can get hurt in soccer, football, like you're going to get some owies, it's going to happen, but like, you're not getting rocked in the face every day. You know what I mean? Like, it's a really good sport for any individual to go and at least try. You're not going to be the next fucking Gordon Ryan, but it's going to help benefit your life. It's going to make you a better husband. It's going to make you a better wife. It's going to make you a better son, daughter, whatever, especially a lot of the guys I see that run businesses, I think it helps zen them, like focus, chill out and get off your high horse too. You know what I mean? It's all around. Just, I think everybody needs it, and I know it's, I would say it's probably possible. I mean, if more people start joining, more gyms will pop up.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what I'm hoping. And especially when I talk about it so much, and I know I'm not the only one, but like, I hope more people go and join, like I'm telling you right now, if you go, it will change your life, and you will have bumps in the road and you'll fall off and just get back on, and it happens, but just you try it at least. You know what I mean? Just go fucking try it.
Yeah. What I realized when that time I had with jiu-jitsu is I know for a fact I got a competitive spirit in me, and that whenever I accomplish something, I get hyped up. Like, and I've noticed this not only jiu-jitsu, but aside from music, I've done theater as well. And like, whenever we have we finish a show, or I get a song done, or get done with the rolling session, and truly felt like I accomplished something in it. I'm like, not only internally but externally, be like, let's go, like, I did something. Feel that sense of satisfaction and fulfillment, where it's like, coming from that shy, insecure self, not realizing that I have that competitive spirit in me, and having that, I wanted, be able to compete with people, and being able to, have fun with it as well. And I know with jiu-jitsu, man, I remember those first couple of classes where I was like, man, look at all these freaking bruises and open wounds, and like, I'm almost getting my arm broken. I'm like, what the hell, dude? Like, what the hell? But yeah, like, it's always like it's something that I 100% agree. At least try. Because it
and you probably threw yourself into it. You know what I mean? Like, you deep dove. Like, you don't have to do that. You can pick and choose who you roll with. We were talking about that earlier. Like, to make it a safe setting, because not everybody wants to get those bumps and bruises. Which, whatever. I think you should. You know what I mean? I think you should get.
I agree.
Get a black eye every now and then. You know what I mean? Wake you up. You know what I mean? Like, get a little cut here and there. Like, it'll wake you up. You're vulnerable. You're not. A lot of these things you see on fucking YouTube and shit, when people are fucking screaming like as if they can't be hurt, or trying to fucking fight somebody you don't know how to fight. You're insane, dude. You know what I mean? Like, you need to go walk into one of these gyms, and you'll realize very, very quickly. But yeah, dude, I mean, it was probably good for you, humbling, I'm sure. And a realization of, oh shit, like,
even when we had our moments, like, I remember, like, I was never a fighter. Like, the only time aside from jiu-jitsu,
I wasn't either.
It, like, the only time I was ever in a fight when I was like probably 10 years old, and then I got into this fight with this dude because some guy told me to go say something to him, and then he punched me in the face 3 times. I was like, oh, I'm done. And like, I remember, like, whenever we were kickboxing, I remember, like, I was like, all right, this dude is like, I don't know what's going to happen. I just remember we were just kind of sparring. It would hit me in the body, and the next thing you know, you hit me in the face. And I'm like, oh shit, he hit me in the face. He hit me in the nose. Like, that shit hurts. Because like, I'm never used to getting hit in the face with a glove or something. I'm like, oh my God. Or like the same thing with like rolling around. Like, I remember rolling around with John Monk, and like, he elbowed me in the face, and that was the first time I ever saw stars, and like, I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
And then the first time ever getting choked out, where I was like, oh dude, I'm about to pass. I'm like, it was like, holy.
But are you happy though you've got to experience that? Because there's some people that have never been hit in the face.
Oh yeah.
Some people that have never been choked out. They have no idea. It's taboo to them, and I think you should, I think you should. I think it would wake a lot of people up that, like I said earlier. So.
It made me realize that, like, going back to having insecurity, mask this ego, was like, I'm sure a lot of people, not just guys, can feel like, oh yeah, I can probably take somebody on not having a single ounce of training and fighting. But after, having those rolling sessions and realizing how much more experience the other people I roll with, made me realize, okay, calm that shit down. Calm down. Like, because you, in your head, you're like, thinking, oh, I can fight somebody, I can beat somebody, but then you don't know what they're capable of, and then boom, you're knocked out.
I used to think that too. I've only been in a handful of fights growing up, dude, and I never really liked fighting at all. I really don't like violence. It's weird. I like violence in a controlled setting.
Yeah.
I'll fucking, whatever. If you want to come to the gym, come to the gym. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, but I don't like street shit. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not a big proponent on violence. Not saying I won't, but I don't like to go looking for it, that's not my thing. But to see, like, what you were talking about, with the sparring, it's like, I've only got a couple of years. Can you imagine someone who's actually trained? You know what I mean? And I train a lot more jiu-jitsu than I do stand-up.
Yeah.
But like, now imagine sparring somebody who's been training MMA for fucking 5 years, 6 years, 7, like.
I can only imagine.
I know, that's what I'm saying. But people need that. There's guys walking around right now that have that. It's like, you mind your P's and Q's.
Exactly. Whenever I would train with Mitchell, anytime we would do workouts, we would have body, like we would spar with each other, but we would only hit each other in the body, not in the face. And like, those were moments, that was actually like the realization that like I have this competitive spirit, and I have that, I guess you could say, quote unquote Mexican warrior, but just overall the competitive spirit in me, where like we're in the middle of like, he's getting me with some good shots on the body, like I'm feeling like, oh god, he's got me. And then like, once it's really like, okay, I gotta up the ante, and I'm like in the middle of like hitting him in the body and getting him in the liver. It's like, come on, let's go. Like understanding that I have that competitive spirit in me, and like still making sure that I keep that competitive spirit in me and not hide it under a tarp, just hide it in general.
And you respect. Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people need too, is respect. Respect the game, man. There's different levels of people out there. So
I don't want to get hit in the face. I don't want to get knocked out.
That's what I'm saying. Like, a lot of people need that, man. That's why I wish more people would train. But it's hard to get people to. They come up with every excuse in the book. And it's,
I've done it myself. Everyone, I'm sure
you got to. Yeah, I've done it too. I told you, the first time I trained jiu-jitsu, I fell off after 6 months. Fell off for 5 years. Until I got back into it, 4 years, something around there. But you just got to get back into it, man. And everything changes, dude. I don't know how else to explain it. Don't fucking believe me if you don't want to. Yeah, I could care fucking less. I'm really just trying to help you.
Yeah.
Not you, but people who are listening. That think it's bullshit. Just try it. That's all I can say. It's helped me. I'm sure it's helped you.
Oh man, you have no idea.
Yeah, dude. I mean, and everything, man. Like I said, it just everything. But I mean, even your music, man, I'm sure it, helps you zone in on that shit, like, kind of zero in and, focus more, dude, because you're releasing some of that toxic shit out of you,
and just, yeah, man. I mean, just being like, I'm in the zone and I got to make something, and like, I want somehow, some way, like I know in my heart and my spirit that I want to be a helpful, caring person in any capacity, whether it's actually in person, like talking to you, I like just having conversation with people, and I'm sure something I said maybe you'll take away from, and vice versa. And
for sure.
And the same thing with music is that like I hope that regardless of if it's one person, 2 people, 3 people, or a million people, and I never know who's actually listening to it. I'll never really know who's actually listening until I see them and hear it in the most random moments where I'm like, I actually am helping out people, because I know it's in my heart to do that in some way, some capacity, no matter what it is. I mean, even with jiu-jitsu, like even when I was rolling, I'm sure maybe I've helped out some people with rolling, even though I'm a complete newbie, don't know what the hell I'm doing. Like I still remember the first time, like I remember like the first couple of, like it was like the first 2 classes of jiu-jitsu where I was just standing there. I was like watching people roll. I was terrified of rolling. And then it was the second class in, and I see one of the guys points at me and says, "Hey, come here." And I was like, all right, screw it. And he just kind of shows me like little moves. He doesn't just body me like that. He's just kind of showing me little moves here and there. I'm like, okay, I'm kind of getting into
That's people's misconception. They think they're going to walk into a gym and just get wrecked. It's like, not really. It's usually in a controlled setting. John's really good at that, like where he picks and chooses, like, hey, don't roll, or hey, roll with him. You know what I mean? And then there's just some guys like, that just like, fuck it. They just, I'll go, and I think it's cool. You know what I mean? Fuck it, go try it out. What's the worst that's going to happen?
And then having it with those people that, they have that spirit, like they want to compete, but having to control it. Because I know I've had a couple roles where I've rolled with people who are so like, they're just ready to fight. They don't even think about the technique. They're just trying to like, I guess, get all their aggression out. I'm like, hey man, like relax. Like even to like, I remember when I first started rolling, I remember one of the guys, it was Chris, who was like, I was rolling with, and I was just going at it. Like I didn't think about what I was doing. I was just trying to like be jittery. And he was like, relax. And I was like, okay. And then doing that to somebody who's even newer than I am, and I'm like, hey dude, relax. Like I know you have a super competitive, want to just slug it out or some way. I'm like, dude, relax. Like having to tell somebody that, and in a way it's like just helping someone out, whatever, in any way I can.
Well, think about what that does too when he tells you to relax in that situation. Your anxiety's high, your adrenaline's running, you're like, holy fuck, like I'm just gonna go, and then you just start going fucking wild. It's the same thing in life when you're in certain scenarios, like when I tell you my issues when I'm out with certain environments. that same thing you learn on the mats reflects over into your personal life as well. So when you get into like kind of a situation where it becomes kind of stressful, you can use that, and it's almost like you don't even think about it. It's almost like muscle memory. You're like, oh, be all right. Chill. No one's choking me out right now. Like, it's just a little different environment. I'll be all right. Or like if you get into a rut with music, or me with the podcast, it's like you start stressing and shit, and then you're just like, oh, what the fuck am I tripping about, man? I'm cool.
Yeah,
what I mean? That's it. You realize that, and it's almost like the thing that, Jocko and all them say. It's like, do the hardest things. That way, when you're faced with hard situations, you can reflect back and be like, well, I just fucking worked out and did a fucking hour and a half gym session at, in jiu-jitsu. It can't get any harder than that. You know what I mean? Like, true. I'll be all right in this little situation.
Yeah, same thing with my music, where it's like, where I was making a whole bunch of different ideas, but I was like already burnt out. I'm like, I'm not even going to think about it. I'll just listen to it in the morning or something, where I'm just like exhausted. And then I listen back to it in the morning, and I'm just like, oh wow, this is actually kind of amazing. I could actually do something with this. And even with some of my older stuff that I've like reflected on, where I made music from like 2-3 years ago, I'm like, this is actually amazing. Because at the time I was like, this is not good enough. This is not good enough. And then I listened to it, I'm like, this is kind of good. Like, just giving myself, and for anybody that's watching this too, is giving yourself the grace of, don't be so hard on yourself. And I, like a lot of people, I deal with it all the time. I was like still having to learn how to deal with stuff in moderation, anything I do, because all I've known was just one or the other. Either I go hard, or I don't do anything at all.
Two extremes.
extreme. And like, that's something Mitchell would always tell me too, is that like, dude, you're too extreme. Like, no, you just quit, stop doing all this extreme bullshit. Like, and because when you've conditioned yourself to do all that for so God knows how many years,
it's hard to relearn.
Exactly. And so like, and
that's the key though, man. Even no matter how old you are, you have to keep learning. Those people who stay the same person their whole fucking life, oh man, like I feel bad for those people. You got to keep learning. You got to keep adapting. You got to keep trying to get better, But speaking of music though too, do you have anything else like that? I know you said you have a song coming out, but do you have like, just to pick your brain here, like plans in the future of maybe doing some type of different music, or like, do you have like anything like that, or like stuff you want to try that you're kind of a little nervous to do, but it's something you like?
Something like, in terms of like production wise, I have dabbled in different genres before. I've dabbled into the sort of like an 80s sound.
Yeah, because that's what I'm saying. I get that vibes from you, kind of like I told you, that synth wavy type shit. Like I feel like you'd be, really good in that. And you don't really hear, dude. That's one thing, dude. I fucking love 80s music. You don't hear it.
Yeah,
like, no one's bringing that back. I mean, I guess sometimes they'll use the chorus
coming back.
They'll use the choruses and stuff.
Something I really think I keep telling myself this is to make like Latin music, is to make like reggaeton, because that's what I grew up listening to. Like when I wasn't listening to hip hop, I was listening to Latin music, reggaeton, bachata, all this stuff, and I always wanted to like make music like that. It's just having the confidence in myself to do it, and like wanted to make a song where I'm just pure, like it's pure Spanish. And like I've made music in the past where I sprinkle some Spanish in there, but never actually putting a whole song in Spanish,
right?
Because it's in my blood. I like, might as well give it a shot. But it's just having the confidence to do it, and like the skill set for it.
Throw it out there, dude.
Exactly.
There's always going to be people that don't like it, but there's going to be people that do. You know what I mean? As long as you like it,
Exactly.
And that's where the funness and the creativeness comes out. It's like, okay, I don't care anymore. Like, let's just let's throw it out. Let's have fun.
I've had to overcome that caring too much, because all I've done was just caring about everything, about every little thing about myself, about other people, about just about every little nitpicky thing. And like saying with music is like, recently I've kind of just been leaning towards away a little bit from hip hop and kind of doing something different, like more indie. Like I'm listening to a lot of more indie pop, bedroom pop music, and like I like that, like that type of sound. I like gravitating towards that, where I don't like you said, pigeonhole myself into just like, oh, I just rap, I just do this, I just straight spit bars or whatever. It's just, I like doing different stuff, like pop. I've always liked that pop, indie pop, like lo-fi music as well. Like I love lo-fi with the burning passion.
Yeah.
And so
I think you should try it, man. Just start throwing some stuff out, dude. I think it'd be neat and gain a wider audience as well too. I mean, you already have a bunch of bangers already. Like, might as well just go out there and try some new stuff. You know what I mean? And then hopefully we'll get an album at some point.
I've always thought about it, and of course, this goes back to like, oh, it's hard work. I'm like, I know for me, I know it's like, oh, it's so much hard work, and like,
have you talked to any like production companies or anything like that, or you still kind of doing it yourself?
Just pretty much still doing it myself. Like, like I pretty much have my system of how I do stuff. Like, I take care of the recording process, I take care of the writing process, I take care of the production, the songwriting. That's taking care of all those will cut your work and literally by 70-80%, and then after that, then I have someone else who just cleans it, mixes, does the final mixing and final mastering to really get it ready for release.
Right.
So that's the one thing I can say I'm proud of myself for, is that I've been able to learn all those different avenues of the songwriting process, the song creating process in general. Is that when I first started doing it, I was like, oh, I'm just looking for beats, and then I have to go through the logistics of having to pay and having to deal with all the back end shit, having to deal with percentages, royalties, publishing, all this stuff. And I'm like, I want to make my own shit. Yeah. So where I don't have to deal with all the stress of trying to find something that I'm looking for. Right. And nothing wrong with that. You know, there's nothing wrong with trying to look for something that's made by somebody else, but just being able to do the work myself, making it so much easier, knowing exactly what I want instead of having someone to say, hey, I want this, but then they don't really know exactly where it's like how your brain works and really understanding what your brain is trying to tell.
I think you got to find someone that'll let you have creative control because the only problem I see with you trying to handle everything, I think it could work, but I think sometimes it can backfire on you because you're becoming too micromanaging to where you won't let other people in. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, and I deal with that too. Like I want to just do my own stuff on my podcast, but the further along I'm getting, I'm like, okay, maybe I'll work with somebody at the right terms. You know what I mean? I don't want people controlling me. I don't want people keeping me to, whatever. Like if I see stuff on contracts I don't like, I'm not going to do it. You know what I mean? But I would love the help. You know what I mean? And I'm willing to share whatever it is that we get from this with somebody, if we do that, as long as everything's fair. And I think it'll catapult me or you in a sense, if you were to find that, it'll catapult you to where like, okay, now you got the stressors of all the stuff in the background that you normally do off your plate. And now you can really deep dive mentally and be able to come up with stuff that maybe that stuff was blocking because, you were having to that on the back of your plate, going, fuck, I gotta, and now you're freed up, and exactly. So now the creativeness starts to come out and then you may get sent to a whole nother level.
Exactly. That's how it was when I told you, when I was making my first couple songs, like it was during the pandemic where I said, I'm going to start releasing music. I'm going to put out, my goal was to release a song every month and still not having the sufficient skill set. But luckily I met someone who still takes care of my music, putting the final touches on it.
That's awesome.
Shout out to Justice. Love you, dude. Yes. And during that time when we first started working with each other, it was going back to holding myself to a standard of the industry standard where I got to have everything perfect to the way I hear it in my head. If not, it's not good enough. And like that for like first 8 months from January to August, I was releasing music, but I was working with this dude and I was just so nitpicky about every little single detail, micromanaging galore. Like it was so bad. And somehow he was able to put up with this, so I salute him for that. And just being, because I wanted my music to be perfect. And then after August, I just kind of stopped didn't release any music for a while because I wanted to just actually work on, getting more creative. And then over time, where like I think 2021, I released like 2 or 3 songs. Yeah. 2022, I released Is It Bad, the only song I ever released that year. 2023, I released 3-4 songs that year. And then this year, I released so far, I think 2 songs this year, if I'm not mistaken. And just over that span of time is just understanding that I have my vision, but don't be so hard on yourself and don't be micromanaging every little thing that you do because of your neurotic, self-critical, super degrading. It's not good enough, not good enough, not good enough. It's just like, just let it flow. Just let it flow. Just have fun with it. And that's a lot of this recent stuff that I put out is an example of that. Like, I'm just having fun with it. And now, like, oh man, like, it's actually get to enjoy it and being able to appreciate the skill sets. And I'm sure the same thing with you when you have with your podcast of appreciating the work that you put. I mean, this whole freaking setup is crazy. It's truly amazing. And just seeing, like, I can only imagine when you first started, you know, you're just a microphone, a camera, or just audio, and then moving over to that and kind of building that up. And now the fact that you have this is amazing. Like, this whole, like, it's like when people see that, you're like, this is real. Like, it's a real thing. Like, the whole background setup, the ceiling, just everything. Like, as a creative, I can, you know, truly appreciate that of what you've put into your work. The same way you're, you know, reciprocating the same thing to me about my own music. Yeah. Regardless of how much I beat myself up, or I'm sure you beat yourself up in the same way. Is that, like, we're actually doing something that people can't take this away from us, no matter what. Is that it's always going to be there. We always can get better at what we're doing, and that no matter how much you put yourself down, the love will always truly be there. Yeah. No matter what circumstances you deal with, the highs, the lows of life, it's always something, like I told you, it'll never be taken away from you.
Danny, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you coming on.
Yes, sir.
I think it's a beautiful thing, especially local artists. You know, I hope in the future I see more of everyone coming together, you know, music, podcast, movies, and, you know, whatever entertainment, you know, and come together to do, like, good, positive things, man, you know, because, you know, Kansas City, it's up and coming, you know, there's a lot of great things going on right now, a lot of great creators out there. And yeah, man, I mean, I appreciate you coming on.
Yes, sir.
You know, you're welcomed on anytime. Do you have anything that you want to say that you got coming up, or anything like that, or anything you want to drop?
My next song that I'm releasing is titled Done Grew, and it'll be releasing sometime. The plan is either October 4th or October 11th. I'll have to get those details figured out. But yeah, it's my next song where I can say that it's a testament to the growth of myself as a human being, regardless of my setbacks, my relapses, and that at the foundation of it all is that through those cycles of ups and downs that I'm truly growing and having enough confidence and trust in myself to be able to say that, and that being with myself and being secure in it little by little, no matter how much that negativity, that bullshit that tries to be fed in your mind saying, no, you're not good enough. You're not good. It's like, get the fuck out of here.
Hey, man, I look forward to hearing it, man. I really do.
Absolutely, man.
I appreciate coming on, man.
Sir, thanks for having me.